So, personally for me, I always tell the story whenever I interact with people and they ask me why Sowore, why are you supporting Sowore? Sowore is likely not going to win. What is that about Sowore that pulled you in? And I always say to them, me, it's policy before power. And one thing that I've done over the past couple of years is to go through a lot of policies that you have put together, from your Spicer Heat manifesto to the recent People's Manifesto that you put together during your last campaign. And I have taken my time since this conversation was fixed to go through a lot of these things, and I've brought out a few questions. And for those who are listening, you see that there are areas, there are few pillars that we are going to discuss. And these pillars involve the ideology, it involves education, it involves the constitution, and we are also going to talk about the economy. But I'm going to start from the first one, which is the ideology. And we are going to give you between 4 to 6 minutes because there are quite a lot of questions, so we can also have time for other people to come on and also ask their questions. So if you can answer each question, maybe 4 to 6 minutes, that would really help us. Now, since I've come to know you, you always use the term revolution. So everybody that knows you know that Sowore is for revolution, but there are still a lot of gray areas to a lot of people as to what this revolution is. So I would like to get a philosophical clarity on what this word is. So the question is, what do you mean in concrete political terms? What is this revolution? Is it a total rupture? Is it a transition of power? Or is it just a moral awakening? That's the first question, sir. If you can, please.
Again, thank you very much. The position we maintain, because we came about revolution now in 2019, is completely a total overhaul of the system of our political system in Nigeria, which we have agreed, looked at, and come to the conclusion cannot be addressed by way of reform. So we wanted, and we still continue to seek, a total rupture of the system in place now that has subjugated people, that have cheated the people, that have undermined their integrity and dignity, and have pretty much destroyed their existence. So we are not only, but we understand that some of these things have to happen gradually, and some of them have to happen suddenly. Our position is to make sure that whatever is gradual is made sudden by way of letting people know of the urgency of the need for us to get rid of the old, subjugatory, corrupt, and system of political existence in Nigeria. So we have been very clear about that. But I think the question that more people do ask, and which probably you might be referring to, is if we believe in the force of arms to overthrow the government or to overthrow the existing order. No, we do not believe in violence. This is completely no violent engagement to end the system. We believe that can be done without shedding blood.
Thank you. I found it quite interesting that you made mention of violence, because I was going to ask that in my follow-up question, but you've already addressed that. So I'm going to go to the next question. Now, when you talk about revolution, you've mentioned the stakeholders, the key players in the situation that we found ourselves today, the people responsible. And we usually point the fingers towards the political elites. So do you believe in your revolutionary philosophy, will the elites be revolutionized or reformed, or do you think that there is the need for a total replacement or a displacement. So, how do you want that to show force?
Well, we completely believe that the old system, the old decadent system, cannot be reformed. And I have stated that several times. And I would believe that it will be replaced, and it has to be replaced, and the replacement is urgent. And we also understand that this, having decided that we are not going to engage in violence, that this can happen by way of protest, and protest can happen in many forms. There can be a the revolution of the ballot, in which a lot of revolutionary ideas are allowed to bubble to the surface, and we have people who have the reins of power to change the course of our political, economic, and social systems in Nigeria, and that is our goal. It is our desire, but that with the number of elites that are available standing in the way of progress, if they stand in the way of the progress, it will be up to the people to determine how that replacement is done. But this is going to be a very democratic revolutionary process in which everybody will try to ensure that everybody is involved. Let's make it very clear: the goal is not, it's not to come and kill anybody. The goal is to tell people who very clearly have stood on the path of progress to step aside and let a new set of ideas, intellectually sound ideas, politically pure ideas, and socially acceptable ideas to become the norm in the country, as opposed to what it is now, which is that these ideas are very strange and mostly unacceptable to those who are in power. They're impervious to the plea of the people to give them a fresh lease of life. And our goal is to ensure that the people prevail over those who are in power right now.
Thank you. Now, to follow up to that, so it's revolution via the ballot. Now, the question that I'm
Well,
going to
that's
ask
that's
you
that's
is that
that's what that's our desire. But in
okay,
case they stand in the way of the ballot, which they have done consistently, then it's up to the people to decide how they liberate themselves.
thank you. You've partially answered the next question, which I was going to ask, which is, do you really believe, or do you really think that a revolution can come through the ballot in the same system, where, like, we have seen what the electoral bodies are able to do? So do you trust the system to still deliver this revolution via the ballot? That was the next question I was going to ask, but I think you partially answered that. But if you can still throw more light.
Well, of course, that will be preference that this revolution happens through a ballot. But the ballot must be credible, they must be fair, just, and transparent. And what we have noted is that over time, the ballot has become a hopeless way of achieving the kind of revolution we are preaching, which is total liberation for the Nigerian people. And again, I'm saying that it will be up to the Nigerian people to determine how they free themselves at the end of the day. The goal here and our duty is to keep the people, to wake the people up, including those who are pretending to be asleep. And when we're done with that, it will be the job of the people to stay awake, to ensure that they guard whatever it is has been the outcome of their revolt. What I don't want to deny, which is something that you call protest, what I call revolt, is that it's our hope that those who are not listening will be made to listen and accede to the demands of the people by way of popular revolt. So, and I want to state it very clearly here today that if democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people, a popular revolt is also democratic.
Thank you. I'm going to move to um, another area which piqued my interest in the manifesto of the AAC. That is the area of the constitution and restructuring. So you spoke a great deal on restructuring and the constitution, and you've said that several times in a lot of your interviews. So, and I've been able to just articulate a few questions using what you've written down via your manifesto and what you've also said in your interviews. And my first question to you, in that aspect, I'm going to start with restructuring. Now, in the manifesto, you talk about the right to self-determination, and you even went as far as even hinting that it will even if it might be in form of secession. So that which brings me to the question of now, how would you respond? You also talked about what is it called? You talked about a referendum. So how would you respond if a federating unit like the Southeast, for instance, or let's say the Middle Belt, democratically vote to leave the federation?
Well, first and foremost, our goal is to create a people-driven constitution, and this constitution we have outlined would include provisions for those who may not want to continue to be in the federation to vote, and that will be done via a referendum. And if the referendum is undertaken transparently and purposefully, if the majority of people decide to leave, the procedures are well known. This is not the first country in the world where people decide that they don't want to be part of a federation. But this is our belief, and this is my own personal belief, that even the continent of Africa by itself is not big enough for me. I want a united Africa, so I cannot be pushing for a divided Nigeria. It is also fundamentally our understanding that the reason why Nigeria seems on the verge of division and chaos and collapse on a regular basis is both social, political, and economic injustice has become the mantra of governance in Nigeria. And that if all these issues are resolved justiciably, a lot of our compatriots who are agitating now for secession will be happy to remain in this federation known as Nigeria. But it must be a federal structure. It must allow people to exercise what is known as regional and state powers, and including local governments, not a unitary system that is disguised as a federal system. That is what has been the problem. But again, the starting point is to have a constitution that is made by Nigerian people, that comprehensively captures the wishes, the aspirations, and the desires of the people, both the ones that are present and the one that looks into the future of our country. So, if all these things are taken care of, I can bet you that some of these questions will no longer be necessary. If you can find a country where you can find a job, you are not discriminated against, and there's no the kind of obscene inequity and impunity that has become part of our lives, a lot of people would be happy to live and stay and die in Nigeria. But whereas Nigeria should be a country with a boundary, a lot of people have found Nigeria to be a country in which they have found only bondage. So it is that bondage that we are out to break so that we can keep the boundary.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I personally believe one of the problems or one of the reasons why we have the various agitations that we have today is just scarcity, man-made scarcity. So, and which brings me to the issue of resource control. I would like to ask you, this would be a more personal. What specific model of resource control will you implement? And will the state have full control over their resources, like it should in a true federal system, or would that be a shared revenue formula?
Uh, we have to design once again a constitution that defines clearly this. On a personal level, I have come to understand that creating a country or a nation state where one part is richer than the other without shared prosperity is can only bring about chaos. But again, we are going to create a constitution that says exactly how we are going to divvy up the revenues that come from resources. And one thing I've always wondered about, and that people must understand, is that The nature of resources are shifting on a regular basis. Yesterday it could be oil, tomorrow it could be sunshine. As a matter of fact, water is resource. And I often question sometimes if the people of Niger State were to rise up, or if they understood or rose up a long time ago and said that they want a share of the resource that is known as the Kanji Dam, which they don't ask for. Do we understand that that's a major resource because it has generated electricity for almost 65 years for the entire country for which you and I pay? So we must understand that the nature of resources are shifting. Tomorrow it could be solar, and the place that has the most amount of sun might be the most resourceful or the most resourced area of the country. So I am more in favor of shared prosperity on a personal level, but I also think that areas that produce specific resources should get a lion's share of the resources that come out of their area. I am not proposing to create a part of Nigeria where there will be a Christmas tree at night and then the rest is in darkness. But I think all of us should share what we have. But those areas that are producing resources should have the lion's share of resources found underneath the earth in their particular region or communities.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, Now, that brings me to another important pillar, which I am very, very impressed by how you addressed, which I also think is very key to our prosperity as a people. I'm talking about education. You said something I found very interesting. You talked about declaring a state of emergency on the education sector, and that you promised to do in your first 100 days. So the question is, what immediate action will follow this declaration? And another problem that another concern that a lot of people raise whenever you pitch this particular policy idea is the budget. So I would like to ask you, what budgetary reallocation will be made in your first supplementary budget to back this promise?
So the proposal that I made for a state of emergency in the education sector is not a proposal that will address the problem after the state of emergency. It's exactly done to address the problems. And one of the things we are going to do is look at comprehensively what is there in the education sector left by the time we arrive. How many schools, how many classrooms do you have, how equipped you are, how many hostels do you have, and then also look at how many teachers we need, is to do a total forensic look at the educational sector, and I would dare say also health sector. Also, this will also include power. It's to audit the system completely and look at what are the needs we have. And as soon as those 100 days are over or the emergency period is over, we must have those things in place, or at least start putting them in place, like number of teachers, how many teachers we need to hire, and how to project conclusively for the education sector. How much will it cost us to send children to school from primary school to university, and what is it going to be like to go to school? How do we leverage technology, for instance, in ensuring that there's mass education where we may not immediately have classrooms? How do we get people educated? How many screens you need out there? What is the role of internet penetration in the country in facilitating learning, and how do we also connect with people who may not be in Nigeria who can be part of our educational process? The reason why I place high premium on education is not because my father was a teacher or because I understand education or because I enjoyed free education. It is because I know it is going to become the backbone of the prosperity and the new wealth creation that we are bringing into the country, because these people, these ideas and policies are going to need new hands. They are going to need people who are freshly trained to be doctors, to be nurses, to be scientists. We're going to need them, and you are not going to get this by leaving your educational sector in total chaos that it is now, without the necessary investment. This is a compulsory investment we must make. And as I've addressed just now, it will be that within the period of state of emergency, we have already audited and even started addressing some of the problems. But the moment the emergency is over, of course, you will have the scales because now we're talking about scaling. We're scaling from small to big. So it would have been a total package, and you'll be seeing the difference that we'll be talking about immediately. So I totally believe that this is necessary, and without the education sector, you can kiss every other sector goodbye.
Thank you, thank you. Now, still on education, there is a UNESCO benchmark on what countries should spend on education, and Nigeria, I think, Nigeria is not hitting even 20% of that. And interestingly, you proposed to raise education funding to 26%, which would actually correspond with what the recommendation is. Now, the question I have on that also is: Are you going to cut budgets in any ministry or reallocate budgets? And the reason I ask this is we are a debt constrained economy. If not, how do you intend to go about the funding?
Um, I have said this so many times, and it is because of my understanding of how the Nigerian budgeting process is, how our economic system work, how our financial system is organized, that there is enough to take care of this. My budgetary proposal for education is actually between 26 and 30% of the total budgets in the country. I have done my own internal research and discovered that Nigeria can actually do up to uh, 100 billion naira budget per year if we plug all the loopholes, if we make government to be responsive and compact, and we stop wastage. I say some simple things. Sometimes when I say this, some people say, "Wow, that's not possible." I do not see any reason why the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria goes anywhere with 100 cars. I mean, and somebody might say, "Oh, if you even if you go with 3 cars, it's not still gonna." Yes, let's start from that, because there's so many wastages that can be plugged even at the federal level, and resources directed, reallocated. I will get rid of so many of these duplicated ministries, agencies of government, and departments where people no longer even show up. And in areas where we need more people, you put more people. But think the education sector is a necessary area where because we have just a small percentage of our children who should be going to school are not going to school. And I've mentioned it before. You probably must have heard me. And people have said they're alarmed at this, that I'll make it a crime not to send your child to school. It is a crime. So any country that is successful today has made it a crime a long time ago not to send children to school. My 20 years in the US, you can't keep your children at home and just be happy and put some kind of granite paper on their head to go and sell. You can't do it, no matter how poor you are. So it's going to be the same here. If you have millions and millions of out of school kids, we'll make sure that they're back to school, and we'll make sure that while they're in school, they have access to food, they have access to some kind of medicine, and they have access to learning materials, instructional materials, and they have adequate number of teachers. And The educational sector is also technologically driven, just like it's one of the pillars of our campaign, which is to have a technological base to also be sustainable, and to ensure that we find adequate funding for it. One other thing I want to say, which most people don't know, is that so many of the things we're talking about, the moment you get it right, funding also comes with so many of these policies, not even from us alone. The rest of the world is happy to support you. People are not stealing monies that are meant for immunization and education. And what I would do is do things differently. If somebody say you want to support us, I'll say, instead of sending experts from abroad, give us the money. We'll find experts at home and train them. I want to give you an example. When I was when they started the amnesty program in Niger Delta region years ago, one of the amnesty directors contacted me and said, "I sure," because I was giving them hell and they thought that they could bribe me. He said, "Why don't you handle all of foreign students going to the US? Help us just find universities and place them." And I said, "You're foolish. The universities you want to send them to, or the institutes you want to send them to, who built them? They were built by them, they developed them. So why don't you build schools, renovate classrooms in Niger Delta, bring in some of these foreign experts, if since you are obsessed with foreigners, and come and teach people and transfer the technology locally. When they are done in 5 years, when they go, the technology has become domesticated, the ideas have become domesticated, they have trained new teachers. Of course, we were not happy about it. That was the money that they eventually used in creating the airline that is known as Airpeace, because that was how they moved out all those monies. So this is what I know to be true, that the moment the ideas are there, the policies are proper and they are transparent, and they are well implemented, and there's passion and will on the part of leadership, you'll be surprised how much money you could be getting from even outsiders who have been hanging around and hoping that they can support you. Um, as to what their intents are, that is something I will sift through. But these are some of the things I know. But locally, without even relying on foreign funding or support, we have enough to start so many of these policies and programs. And I've done plenty of analysis, as you are aware, of where to find money in this country. And nobody has faulted my position. There was a time I did my own investigative reporting and analysis, and Femi Falana was also in on this. My long-term lawyer, SAN, and we found $62 billion as of 2019 that could be brought into the economy from unpaid taxes by oil companies, from royalties, from what is supposed to be given to Nigeria by the company that takes gas out of the country to sell, because we have plenty amount of gas, and blocking corruption loopholes, making sure that there's focus on how much oil we sell and goes out of the country, how much we import, you know, building and domesticating our own oil production facilities at home and repairing the ones in existence. When we did all the analysis, there are about 62 billion naira that you can save without, I'm talking about the low hanging fruits. If you add that to the 50 billion or so budget we have, we're already talking about 100 and something billion dollars of available revenue to work with annually. And I'm not making this up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Lastly, on education, um, you talked about the outrage that we ought to have when parents or guardians intentionally refuse to educate their offsprings. And in the northern part of Nigeria, for instance, where we have the whole almajiri um, issue. Now, I would like to ask you lastly, how will you integrate the almajiri schools into the national curriculum? I've somehow heard you hint to this, even though you weren't explicit, but as like at a sort of intentional um, effort to not educate the kids. So, how would you integrate the Amajiri schools into the national curriculum without eroding the system or this intention, and also without eroding the Islamic educational purpose, for instance? And how would you intend, if you do, how would you intend to engage the clerics and the communities to avoid resistance?
This is what I would say prior to answering the question, that the so-called Amajiri system of education is actually education that is complex. So you have little kids put together, unfortunately forced, and put in some kind of bondage to learn a language they don't initially understand, Arabic. It takes a lot of brain power to learn Arabic, and you have some of these guys come out later and even recite the entire Quran. I don't know how many Christians can recite the entire Bible. So it shows to you that people who are Nigerian already have a knowledge base that can be built upon. What we would ensure is done is to say to everybody, first and foremost, you have to send your child to school, and the language of instruction is something that we can negotiate. But anybody that's going to Amajiri schools, which we would want to know and ensure is regulated, must also have math teachers. I don't care whether you teach that child maths in Arabic. That's not a problem. If you want to teach in Yoruba, I don't have a problem. You want to teach in Igbo, I don't have a problem. But the preference is, of course, to go with our slave masters, which we shouldn't continue to do, which is discussion for another day, because then it means that we have to also build new curriculum textbooks that carry this. So, and that you must also teach them every other language, I mean, a system of instruction out there with which they can cope. And to just let you know that this is not difficult, the people of Saudi Arabia are doing the same thing. The people of Pakistan are doing the same thing. India, you cannot be more Islamic than the Republic of Iran. They are building nuclear weapons with their almajiri schools. So there is something they are doing right that we need to do here. But I understand what needs to be done. What needs to be done is to be very clear and intentional, like you mentioned, about educating kids, and to not let these clerics or traditional rulers who hide behind almajiri schools to deny these children of the progress that they need to continue to get away with. And this will be done by mass publicity as well. So there is nothing there. The time that I contested in 2019 and I had time to travel around Nigeria, I have stated this several times that there was 90% of women and men that I talked to as to what they want in the northern part of Nigeria kept mentioning what they call makaranta. Makaranta is school. They say, no, I want makaranta. And if you go around the north, even in places where you have mud houses, they have schools, but they are no longer staffing those schools because it doesn't suit them. But let me tell you another secret, which is not a secret. The people who are promoting the almajiri culture, the political elites in the north, don't send their children to almajiri school. They don't. All their children, even Buhari, as backward as he was, as a leader, never sent his children to a Almajiri school. All of them went to school in the UK. Most of them are lawyers. One is a photographer. I don't know how many of the I don't know all the profession the kids picked up. But so just to know that this is intentional, that's why I said I'll make it a crime for anybody not to send their child to school. We can have a conversation about how we want the medium infrastructure to be, but there will not be any compromise on sending your child to school. That is my position, and that is where the curriculum will come from. The not we are discussing, like I said, is not just some monolithic, special place. It's just a geographical location where you have Christians, Muslims, and animes, people who don't even believe in anything. They are there in the north. And you have seen that there's a lot of Christians in Taraba, there are lots of Christians in Gombe, even in Bauchi, in Adamawa, in Kaduna. I was surprised that there are 40% Christians in Kirby. So it's not like everybody in the north wants to go to Amajiri schools. No, we just in all honesty, it's just breaking the back of those who are behind the pauperization and the wholesale imposition of ignorance on these children. And that's not a problem that cannot be fixed at all. I can guarantee you that that's not as big as most people think.
Thank you. Quickly, if you have any question, and you don't want to come up to the speaker session, you can drop your question. We're going to have an entire segment where we're going to read them out, and Sowore is going to do everything he can to answer all these questions. So, yeah. And to those who are waiting to grab the mic, please a little bit of patience. We are going to start taking speakers within the next 10 to 15 minutes. Now, to the core of the whole thing, because everything we talk about, all the policies that you intend to implement, you need a healthy economy to actualize these things. So I'm going to now address some of the things and ask you questions on some of the things that you talked on the economy. And the first that I would like to ask you is on your recommendation on industrialization. So, and the question is, when you talk about reviving Nigeria's industrial base through local manufacturing, um, how do you want to achieve this, understanding the level of energy deficiency that we face?
I think I've spoken a lot about how to restart Nigeria's industrial base. And we, in using the word industrialization loosely, because just like every other dynamic that I have touched in the past, the word industry is what we should look at as opposed to just talking about industrialization with regards to just building buildings and and putting ground. And my base, my conversation and policy base about industrialization is the number one driver of industry, which is the provision of power, electricity, energy. And without resolving those issues first, of course, you are wasting your time talking about industrialization. But it's also important to let people know that the industries we are talking about these days may not be industries you are used to in the past. I have used a Jakarta Steel Company as an example, for instance, that I do not believe that that's an industry that I would revive because it has been stripped bare of whatever can be used to revive it. I would rather use Ajakuta, for instance, as a school of engineering, a federal school or federal university, because it's massive compound where people can learn metallurgy and all kinds of steel engineering. But I want to restate that my position about industrialization is first and foremost fixing the energy sector, and anything short of that is just like building castle in the air. So, the moment that is done, then you'll be talking about, large and medium scale industries in the country. We're talking about small businesses that are part of the industrial revolution you are talking about. But, beyond that also is the fact that this place, Nigeria, can become what is my own dream of the future of industry, which is artificial intelligence, where you can actually be building and promoting and staffing artificial intelligence outlets that can be marketed and shipped to the world. So, but without solving the energy crisis, that's a waste of time. And I also have declared to you that I mean, an emergency in that sector is also in the works for me. There's no way I get to office and the first thing that is paramount and most important to me is getting Nigeria to work to have an electrical grid that works 24/7. No matter what it takes, I will do it.
Thank you. Um, I'm of the opinion that um, one of the biggest contributors to our underdevelopment are the conditionalities, um, especially the loan conditionalities from the IMF and their cohorts. And unfortunately, for a developing economy, a lot of the funding that we need to enact some of the policies, we still have to go back to the IMF and these same people to get funding. And some of these conditionalities, they bring about a lot of things that we see. And one of them is inflation and policy advice to devalue the currency. And for a country like us, which is so import dependent, I think that has a very, very bad effect on us in terms of the inflationary consequences. So the question that I'm going to ask you regarding this, because I've seen that you are also a huge advocate of decolonizing the economy. So what tools are you going to use to first of all stabilize the currency, combat inflation, Um, and also, are you going to rely on the IMF, for instance, for borrowing? And if yes, how would you the austerity policy advice and all the dependency measures that they put to keep us trapped?
Well, the first thing I want to address is the reason why we have inflation in the first place, and without being cosmetic about it, I think the moment you understand what is causing inflation in our own particular circumstance, then you will understand. And part of the reason why there is inflation is, of course, because the cost of production in Nigeria is very high because we don't have our energy sector or energy system in place. We also must also appreciate that corruption is one of the biggest reasons for inflation, because every time there is opportunity for people to make quick money, what they do is steal from the Commonwealth, and this might sound a little bit ludicrous, converts the currency to dollars, and hoard it. And that's why you have all this, everybody, senator, governor, everybody has like some kind of BDC, or some relationship with BDCs. So on a monthly basis, you discover that a country that is not producing, but you have like some very lousy elite, especially within the political sector, who rely on rent. Uh, then you get that inflation. And if you can have a leadership, which we would provide, that is not in that category of people, or in those categories of people, then that problem will be likely reduced. As to where we go for funding, I think no country will exist as an island. But one of the things I intend to do, having understood how this neo-colonialist capitalist system work, I've been with them for 20 years, is to be firm about what we need and what we don't need, because that's where the problem comes from. Is that you must ask yourself, when our leaders go and borrow money, what do they borrow for? And if they are going to borrow for consumption, you are going to end up with shambolic economic system. If you are borrowing for projects that can add value to your society, then it's not a bad idea. All of us do borrow. So I'll be very clear about, if I have to go borrow, what we are borrowing for. I'll be clear about the terms for those loans, and if they are not acceptable, I will not take loans that we would not need. I won't take a loan that will put my country at peonage. And I've understudied the IMF and the World Bank over the years. If there's anything I can do not to have any relationship with them, which I can tell you is almost impossible, I'm not going to lie about it. I won't, but I will have a relationship that is only respectable and necessary, and not a relationship in which I would just go cap in hand and beg for things I need and things I don't need. It will only be things we need as a people that will beg for, not to go collect loans that most states do and the federal government do, only to fritter the loans away or to steal them. We're still talking about some NNPC people who have been arrested recently or invited by the EFCC for frittering away or misappropriating over $7.2 billion that was supposed to be used in repairing refineries. These are loans that were taken on behalf of Nigerian people and stolen by a few. So imagine that we don't all be employed by now. I'm not saying that totally. So let me just. I think somebody broke into this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that'll be my position on IMF, World Bank, and the culture of borrowing. Hello, Chimeze, are you still there? Okay, Chichi, are you there? I think Chimeze is. I can't hear anybody anymore. Hello, everybody. I can't hear you. Hello. Okay. Yes, it looks like the Twitter space is not active at this point. I don't know what's going on. Please, if you're hearing me, can you just let me know, please? Okay. Yeah, but I can't hear you guys. I can't hear the host. I can't hear anybody. So, okay. I can't hear the host. I might need to restart my Twitter space. Okay, let me restart and see what's going on, please. Okay.
Um,
Oh, can you hear me? Hello. Can you hear me now? Okay, this looks like I can't hear anybody anymore. I don't know what's going on here. I might need to restart. Okay. Can you hear me now?
yes, sir, we can hear you. Yes.
All right. So, yeah, I can hear you now. So, please take it away. I think I was the last speaker.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. They're going to take it from from a few people, and we have a lot of people who are testing the mic. So the first person to go, engineer, is go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, Nigerians, and my appreciation to our leader for, having the time to be with us tonight. I just want to be very brief, and that's about the insecurity situations, which has to do with, the relativity of Nigerians dying in their thousands in the past 2 years of this incompetent and historical failed government of APC led by you know um, but the constitution is very clear when it has to do with section 14, and section 43 when it has to when it talks about the breach of the constitution. And in section 14, my leader, the constitution talks about government's duty primarily to protect citizens and take care of their welfare and well-being. But we can see very well that with all that has happened all over the country, the hardship, when it has to relate with the well-being of the citizens, and the Nigerians that are dying in their thousands when it has to do with the protections and the insecurity situations. Normally, the legislature, which makes the law and refuse to respect the interpretations of the laws, have been pocketed by the executive. Do we have that position in which we can begin to channel our energy to in true demonstration, which is our right as citizens, to demand the resignation of this government before 2027? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. And I
And
think,
we're going to take the second question.
okay.
Oluomo of Davi. Oluomo of Davi, you can ask your question. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, okay. Sorry about that. I thought you can call. So, yeah, so good evening. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Mr. Sowore. We truly appreciate your consistent speaking up for the rights of Nigerians and, of course, your commitment to justice and, of course, good governance in our society. It's always sort of course, inspiring to hear you. Thoughts and, of course, please keep you up. Remain steadfast to strength. a better Nigeria. So I'm just going to put these questions to you quickly, sir. The first question, I'm going to talk about diaspora itself. So the first question I'd like to put to you is rebuilding the trust and encouraging sort of the return of low Nigerians in diaspora. I believe, and I'm sure that you also believe, many Nigerian youths, across the country today, felt like the system has failed them. Every day we jump back, people in the country itself for a better future. And of course, someone like you, was a strong voice in our society for development work and for a better Nigeria. What kind of ideas, how do you create a neighborhood environment to convince a lot of Nigerians, millions of Nigerians who have lived in diaspora, basically, who have enjoyed good governance, so listen, we're in charge, A, B, C, D. It's time for you guys to come back home and, of course, build, your part to make sure, contribute to the to national progress of our country. The second question I'm going to put to you is about diaspora voting. So, when it comes to diaspora voting rights, I'm an advocate of diaspora voting. We've signed a few petitions for many years. I'm afraid nothing has happened. I think the last one happened when a few senators were in London sometime last year. I have a few conversations with them, and it's always the same going around the circle. And when you look at countries in Africa, for example, countries like South Africa, Zambia, Kenya, Tunisia, have implemented the diaspora voting for many, many years. So I don't understand where exactly is our problem as a nation. So for me, are you in support of Nigerians in diaspora having the right to vote? National elections, governorship election, presidential elections, Senate, wherever it is, the national elections. So if so, how do you think we can, from this, and of course, making it more of a reality? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to take two more questions, and then we're going to allow Mr. Sowore to answer. The next question should be coming from Governor Abbey. Governor Abbey, please go ahead and ask your question.
Before we go on, please, everybody requesting, just give us a few minutes. I promise to everybody, if you feel like you can't wait, you can ask your question. So please make sure you mute your mic and make sure you put your hands up if you do want to ask questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Governor Abbey, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're hosted from. I guess my question is on revolution, and it's just a simple question. Is revolution ever brought a positive impact on the African continent compared to the revolution and advocacy? While advocacy could be slower, it brings lasting change, less destruction. And why do I say this? If you look at the context of revolution, yes, it has brought changes during the anti-colonial era. If you look at it from the Algerian War of Independence, 1954 against France, to the Maumau uprising in Kenya. You can see what's happening in Kenya today in the 50s and the 60s against the British rule. To the Angolan War of Independence, 60s and 70s against the Portuguese. Well, even after post-independence revolution, you look at the Ethiopian revolution today, or the true Selassie Emperor. What are the gains of revolution today? Even if you compare it to the Uganda Bush War in the 80s, 1980s, same thing. During the Museveni king of revolutionists, now he has become a tyrant in Uganda over 30 or even almost 40 years of dictatorship, and he was a revolutionary. So the negative outcomes of revolution, to me in particular, it brings uncertainty, high cost, involves violence, and Nigeria, as a scholar, know that there's a thin line between revolution, protest, and riot. I'm sure Sowore knows we have the Riot Act in Nigeria, and that's a thin line between revolutionarism, which can be hijacked, and the
external influences, even considering the Cold War proxy conflict between Angola and Mozambique, if you look at the recent one that is signed between Kigami of Rwanda and this neighboring country, the Democratic Republic of Congo, revolution. But guess what? They still ended up on the table. Was it yesterday, 2 days ago? Yesterday, Friday, on the signed peace agreement. So while Sowore believes in revolutionary as he walked across African continent, that's why I gave a background to revolutionaries in Africa. And secondly, the question has been gallivanting against the Ford Foundation, allegedly funding Shore's IPAC or PAC. In America, we call it IPAC PAC. And yes, PAC, Lobbying Foreign Agents Act, should also be, enforced in Nigeria. Yes, people, donate from foreign agency, but we can even see what President Donald Trump said about US aid funding across the world. Even in Abuja here, majority of the hotels, everything is empty now because there's no US aid again funding different countries in Africa, causing instability. So maybe Mr. Sowore can educate us on Ford Foundation with regards to its movement. So those are my two questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And then lastly, we're going to take a question from Ndukwe Wisdom, and then we'll allow Mr. Sowore to answer and then take the questions. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. First of all, I would like to say a special thank you to Mr. Sowore for inspiring people like us, giving us the motivation we need to, stand against this evil system of Nigeria. I personally want to thank him for being such a strong, courageous, intelligent man. It's not easy to stand against the system, the evil system of this country. It's not easy. It's not easy to stand against the evil system. So I so much appreciate him. I so much thank him for standing up for the masses, all masses, less privileged, being the voice of the voiceless. And so the my question tonight is this. My question to Mr. Sowore tonight is this. I want to ask if do you really believe that we can achieve this revolution we're talking about, protesting only with cards, with good cards, only cards, yet I hope I'm coming out clear. Do you really believe that we're going to achieve this revolution we're talking about, protesting only with paper? You get? So that's my first question. And my second question is this. You are doing a great work for Nigerians. You're doing a great work by fighting for people who cannot fight for themselves. But at the point, you also, aided the release of a criminal, let me use that word, please. A non-criminal called Jeli. So I want to know why it's as if there is no limit to the people you're fighting for. You can fight for anybody. There should be a kind of limit that this kind of person, we're not going to fight for this kind of person, and all that. So that's my two questions tonight. I believe I came out clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ndukwe. All right. We're going to take more questions, but for now, let's allow Mr. Sowore to answer more questions that we have so far. Take it away, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me also request, because we're streaming live, and the live people are complaining that they can't hear the questions. And on our live end here, there are close to 5,000 people watching live. So please, if there's anything you can do to just increase the decibel or the volume of your questions, kindly do that when you ask questions. Having said that, I have 7 questions here. And I would also urge people, because of time, to just limit their questions to one question at a time so that we can reach as many people as possible. And the first question is a question about insecurity and if that could lead to the demand for the resignation of the government by popular uprising. And I say yes, 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 yes. You could actually ask the government to resign. You can, and I mentioned that earlier that it is also democracy to reject a government you don't want, and do so by, there are several ways to vote. You can vote with your thumb, and you can vote with your feet. This time around, it will be everybody putting their feet on the ground and saying we do not want a government that is emasculating and destroying us and is not permitting us to exist as a people with dignity. So you can, and every time we wake up, we always hear from Nigerians who say, "Wow, there's something happening in Kenya. Why are we not doing that?" Since the last 2 days, there's been something happening in the Congo. Why are we not doing that? So you can, and yes, we can. You can demand for a government that has made your country insecure, that's corrupt, that's incompetent, to resign or to get them out of the way. You can do that, and you can quote me anywhere that I said that. That you are not at liberty to sign a death warrant to the government that's out to kill you. That's the truth, and I'll say that any day, anywhere. The second question was from Oluomo, who was asking about the rebuilding of trust and helping Nigerians to return back to Nigeria. And he was pretty much talking about how to reverse the migration of Nigerians. And what I can tell you is that yes, we can make that happen. It has to be a number of policies that is going to incentivize the return of the diasporans. Sometimes when you want to return diasporans, I'm sorry to say, they want to be treated like eggs. But you have to also understand that people who are here are very sensitive to any kind of class of people that you treat differently. But considering that they are going to be coming back with skills and they have needs, yes, we could help incentivize the return of diasporans. But what will make diasporans return to this country? I don't even think you need to do too much. I don't think you need to promise anybody big salaries. You just need to give them security, give them electricity, and give them infrastructure. And the next day, this country will be filled up with diasporans. I can tell you categorically, and nobody needs to tell you this, that a lot of people who are abroad are tired of staying abroad and they can't wait to come back. But yes, there must be a government that's also here to assure them that when they come back, they are safe, they are secure, and that their investments, which they bring, or their skills, will be taken care of. I know of a lot of people who have retired abroad who still have up to 10 or more years to give. Doctors, professors who will be happy to come, teachers, police officers, security people. I know a lot of friends of mine who used to be in the U.S. Army who said to me, "If you become president of Nigeria, I just want to come and volunteer to be a DPO of a police station and teach them how to run a police station." We have plenty of those kind of people, but we need to create both the policy and incentives and also the environment that they can return back to safely and live in sanity and safety. And diaspora voting, my answer is, well, if you had voted for me in 2019, by now there will be diaspora voting already. It's simple. I'm in support of diaspora voting. It will be. You can't hear me?
Yeah, a lot of people that complain is okay if your voice is
Okay. Can you hear me now? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
So
I think it's better now.
yes, so diaspora voting is something I totally support, and I will make it a fait accompli. If I were to be president, diaspora voting is as soon as I become president, because it's very easy to get diasporans to vote. It is very transparent way of getting them involved. And at any rate, how do you have people who are contributing so much to the economy and they don't have the simplest right, which is the right to determine who leads them? There's nobody in diaspora, almost, I'll say, in the highest of percentile, who are not sending money to Nigeria. Over $50 billion come to Nigeria from diasporans. And you can't even have an opportunity for them to vote. That's unconscionable. And you mentioned several other countries that I think Sierra Leone has diaspora voting, Ghanaians do, South Africans do, Kenyans do. I think even Somalia, the war torn Somalia, have diaspora voting. I don't understand why we can't, but definitely take that for granted. Then there was a brother who said that revolution never brought positive change. He mentioned some countries. I think the confusion you have is that you are mixing war with resistance and pre-independence struggle. You call that revolution? No, that's not what I mean. I think a lot of people have branded their resistance as revolution. But my own understanding of revolution is not some of the examples you have given of countries that have dictators like Uganda, or countries that are at war like the DRC. Those are not revolutions; they are resistance that led to war, and we must be very clear about that. So maybe that's one thing you need to dig deep. Dig deeper about and understand what exactly I'm calling for, which is different from just mere resistance and war. And you mentioned also that, well, maybe advocacy would work. Well, it's very funny that you say that. Nigeria has passed the stage where you can just advocate to the deaf. These guys don't care about your advocacy. They need to be taught a different level of resistance that they've never seen before. That's beyond what they can toy with. And we're talking about the lives of over 200 million people here. That's Nigeria. There's a question about Ford Foundation USAID. I want to clarify once again. I'm not in any movement that is funded by Ford Foundation. Sahara Reporters, which was a US-based, US created media organization, was funded transparently by Ford Foundation after years after I created the platform. And if you heard about Ford Foundation funding Sahara Reporters, I was the one who reported it, and it is because it's available openly. When they ask for you to apply for grants, I did apply for grants, and through actually a third party organization that I was working with, because when it was time for Sahara Reporters to scale, I did not have the money to make it as big as it is now. So I opted for grants. Universities ask for grants, research institutes ask for grants. Most of the medicines with which you and I are treated today, of malaria, of cancer, they come from donations of foundations. So I've never been part of a USAID. I have listed, and you can find it. Whatever information anybody had about the funding for Sahara Reporters is what I made available myself, and is available there. Is something you can Google, and they'll tell you the amount. So it wasn't the result of any investigative reporting. And I wanted to address the USAID issue with Trump. I honestly don't agree with everything USAID. I know that this might sound controversial, but Trump did not take USAID funding because they think they are corrupt. It is because they hate the people who benefit from whatever it is they do, that are black people. But I have always stated that Africans don't need handouts. And that's where this whole USAID issue comes from. Anytime you are always asking for help, somebody in the course of you asking for help is going to ask you to also help them, or dictate to you what you don't want to be dictated to you. It is because Africa is mismanaged this way that we are even discussing USAID funding, health centers, hospitals, and support for civil society, which is where some of this confusion come from. This is where the dictations come from to people. The people that are funded by countries around the world for covert operations are not people who are listed on Ford Foundation or USAID all the time. They know how to fund these people. You and I know that. Russia has its own way of funding. China has its own way of funding. If you have read all these liberation struggle books, you see it. Mandela and the rest of them were funded discreetly to fight the battle in South Africa. The independence resistance we're talking about were funded sometimes by China, sometimes by the USSR as it then was. So this is what you should understand. But to reduce conversation about our lives to the pedestrian conversation, or we saw your name on Ford Foundation, the reason why people do that. It is just to find a way to blackball people who might be against their own agenda. But that's all I can tell you. There's nothing that I've done with funding for the platform that I created that's been around for 19 years now. So I report, as you all know, that is not public information, that is not transparently out there. So that's what I want to say to that. Undukwe said, "Do you really believe that revolution will be achieved by placards?" Yes, I do. I know that the problem we have is that not enough people have put their feet on the ground. Otherwise, we can achieve a revolution even without a placard, just by marching and shouting and ranting. We can do that. But enough of us have not come about the consciousness that we can actually achieve a revolution without bloodshed. And it can be very fast, quick, and successful. But that consciousness is what we haven't come upon or we haven't come about yet for a majority. I have that consciousness, and I believe you don't need to kill anybody to achieve a revolution in this country, especially where cowards are your leaders. And you also mentioned that I aided the release of a criminal. You call it Jele. I think this is completely wrong. You are misinformed. Jele was arrested by a pastor who colluded with the police, accused of cybercrime because apparently he was saying things that the pastors didn't like. One pastor named Evangelist Ebuka Obi. And what we did is to ensure that due process was followed. You can go and look at the charges against him. None of them accuse him of a crime that you are talking about. If you listen to Nigerians a lot, very well, there are people who also claim that Nnamdi Kanu is a criminal because he started IPOB. They have even accused him of killing policemen. He's facing trial today. I support him too because I know that there's no crime in asking for self-determination. So what I want to say to you is that your criminal might be an innocent person because what determines a criminal is the person who is convicted and sentenced over a crime that has been proven in a court of law. In this case, none of such thing happened. He was just held by the powers that be. And all I did was to ensure that due process is followed. And he's out now. So that's all I can say to you. Thank you so much for your questions.
Thank you so much, sir. People are still complaining that we can't hear you properly. So if you can just go closer to your mic.
All right. I'm going to move my mic one more time closer and see how good it is. How is it now?
Everybody good with it?
If you're good with my voice now, please, you can indicate. Yeah. All right. I see a lot of 100% sign there. Go ahead then.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So we'll have Swanky and then Engineer Sani. And before I get them to speak, please follow the African Action Congress page. It is just up here, staring at us. So don't forget to follow and share as well. And we'll continue with our questions. Swanky, please. Mr. Swanky, are you there? Engineer Sani, are you there? Odanayo, we'll go with you.
I'm here.
Okay, yeah. All right, please go on then. Go on with your question.
Okay.
Good evening. Good evening, Nigerians. Good evening.
Sorry, Odanayo. We'll have Engineer Sani go first, and then we have you next.
Okay.
Good day, my comrades. I'm really honored to speak with you today. I have followed your revolutionary movement for a long time as a former FG president, and I just want to say your courage and consistency have inspired me deeply, especially as someone who also believes in a new Nigeria. I sincerely appreciate everything you have stood for, and despite the risks, but I have a few important questions I want to ask. Number one, how do you intend to prove that revolutionary leadership can truly work with a system that many believe in already rejects? Question number two, what concrete plan do you have to free Nigerian youth from poverty, police brutality, and deep political hopelessness we have experienced? Number three, how will you ensure that governors and lawmakers finally become accountable to the people, not their godfather or political sponsor? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Engineer Sunny. Alrighty, you have Odanayo next, please.
Okay,
sorry,
thank you, Mom.
sorry, Odanayo. I'm so sorry, Sir Sowore. Please, people are still complaining they can't hear you, but I'm not sure why. Maybe much more closer to your mic. I'm so sorry.
All right, I'm going to rearrange the mic again one more time and see how this goes.
All right. Odanayo, please. So sorry. Go ahead.
But can you hear me now?
Okay, thank you, Mom. Good evening, Nigerians. Good evening, everyone. And good evening, comrade loyally sorry. I've been an active follower of your movements, and I'm glad that we have a voice for the voiceless, for the young Nigerians. Because when we look at what is happening in our country, it's like we don't have a country. And everybody just follows the status quo. But you have always stood on the sides of Nigerians and for the masses. Just of recent, I saw your plans for the protest for the Nigerian armed forces, police, and everybody who are being underpaid and everything. They are suffering. And the funny thing is that these people are always with the people that are putting them in problem, that have put them in these situations, the politicians that have put them in this bad situation. They are the one guarding them, but at the end of it, there's nothing to show for them. So I'm happy you are lending your voice to speak up for them. So my question now is the Nigerian system itself, because now you are going against a whole corrupt system. And you have been trying since 2019. I've followed your movement since 2019, 2023. You've also tried your best, but at the end of it, you've not been able to pull through. So I don't know what your plans is to convince the young Nigerian, because the only thing that can change this system is if all the young voices come under one structure and speak against these corrupt leaders who have plunged Nigeria into this current mess which we are now. So I don't know what we can do. Is it going to what are your plans? What are your strategies? What are the things they are putting in place to galvanize the youth across religious lines, across ethnic lines, to bring them under one particular umbrella to enable us to fight this system adequately? Because it is counterproductive when some people are fighting the system while there are some people that are still supporting the corrupt system. Though I know it is probably impossible to bring everybody under one umbrella, but at least if you can galvanize 80% of the youths in Nigeria and bring them under one umbrella to fight the system, I think we're going to have speedy progress if we're going to change this country and revolutionize everything that is happening in our system. So that was my question. What are your plans to galvanize Nigerian youth? Because we are the strength of the country. If you can put us all together under one umbrella, it is easier to defeat the system. So please, sir, what are your plans? What are your plans across the 6 states of the country and also the Federal Capital Territory? What are your plans to galvanize all of us together and help us to speak together with you under one voice to change the narratives? Thank you.
Thank you, Odanayo. And also, guys, before we continue, don't forget to follow Civic Space. This is where we have a free speech. We teach each other, and and we all learn to be conscious. We'll have Swanky next. Please ask your question.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Sowore. An honor to be here with you and hear you to dissect your plans and for a better Nigeria. My question is, given your call for transformative leadership in Nigeria, what specific small-scale but impactful initiative would you introduce to foster ethical leadership and accountability among local government officials, ensuring it strengthens trust and drives community-level progress? That's my question.
Thank you so much, Frankie. And we'll just take one more question from John Teddy, and then we'll give Sowore time to answer, and then we'll take more.
Good afternoon from here. Good afternoon, Your Excellency, and Sowore. I would like to say that I'm just going to give an overview of Nigerian politics. My question definitely is going to emanate from the overview. However, I want to say that, Mr. Sowore, I really, really, really love you so much. I love your consistencies, your courage, your steadfastness, your political, your participating love for all Nigerians. It's so obvious that you really care about Nigerians. And this is why I have decided to say, okay, I will follow this man. I supported a candidate that the majority of Nigerians supported in the last election. And this time around, I said, no, look, enough is enough. I will have to follow this man because he's doing what others cannot really do. I saw through the eye of the needle. I saw through the darkness. So now, to my questions, like I said, I want to give an overview. We all understand that Nigeria operates under a very funny system, though they call it federal presidential system. They claim that it's also similar to that of what we do in the United States, where I live. And again, we have different arms of government. We have the executive, legislators, the judiciary. And then, if you look at our political history in brief, you know that from 1960, when we get our independence, there's been a lot of, we had a little break, having some issues, and then we came again from 1966 to 1999. Military had their ways, and then we went on from 1999 to where we are today, and it's been crazy. There have been different political parties coming in and out. But this is my question to Mr. Sowore. What would you do if you become our president? Looking at the numbers of in the Senate, we have I think 109 members, and in the House of Representatives, we have 360 members, and then we have the obviously very corrupt judiciary. What would you do if you become president to the numbers, like the 109 Senate and the 360 House of Rep? Then another thing I want to ask is, what will you also do to our obviously compromised judiciary? We are looking at also a different dynamics right now. The president, I don't know if it's going to happen, but we can see that the Tinubu government is trying to have a kind of one system party. I would also like to know your take on this and what you would do differently. Then, in the area of corruption, the level of corruption in Nigeria is obviously abysmal. The insecurity in Nigeria is obvious, which this guy has also touched or spoken about. And we know that the economy is bad. We know about the ethnic religious crisis. We know about so many things. I would like to know, what would you do? And then the worst part again, another question is about the INEC. Sir, what would you do about INEC? Because that's the umpire that has really dragged us or brought us to where we are today. What's your take? What is your advice? What would you do? And frankly speaking, just like the other guy, the last guy said something. To be real, if we have to be real with ourselves, if we want to achieve revolution, the only way to achieve that revolution, whether we march, whether we walk, whether we sing, whether we hold placard, is when we are ready to fight. That is the truth, except we want to lie to ourselves. So what is really, because for me, I believe that if we have to achieve it, we must fight. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Teddy. We'll allow Sir Sowore to answer these questions, and then we'll take a few more. Thank you. Sir Sowore, are you there, please?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great.
I hope you guys can hear me loud and clear now.
Please, can we have 100 if you can?
Can you hear me loud and clear now? Because I've adjusted my device. All right, thank you very much. So the first question came from Engineer Sani, and thank you very much, Engineer Sani. It was just great to hear your voice. And he said, "How do you expect a revolution to work with the old system?" Well, my answer all the time is the same. The revolution is here to break the back of the old system. It's not a revolution that is going to ride on the back of the old system, because the old system is why we are going to have a revolution in the first place, because we are tired of the old system. And the old system, you all know it, have driven us to the brink, and we are now on a cliffhanger. And the idea of a revolution, whichever way we carry it out, is to completely remove the old system and rebuild it and put in place our own system that will give our people a fresh lease of life. That is what the revolution is about, is to come and get rid of the old system and put in place a new system. We're erecting new foundation and new structures that will take that can accommodate our wishes and aspiration and social, political, and economic justice for our people. And he also mentioned that how do you intend to help the youth from poverty, police brutality, and what youths are confronting now. You know that I'm number one on that particular part of ensuring that nothing touches the Nigerian youth, and that if I'm aware of it, if I can't get there to physically save you, I will use whatever power I have, whether in the social or traditional or conventional media, to fight for the youth, to ensure that there is no police brutality that touches you. I have said this repeatedly, that I was the one who started NSAS in Abuja. I was the first person to go to the headquarters of Nigerian Police Force to fight and start that ignite the entire fight that you have heard so much about. And but with regards to ending youth poverty, the first step towards ending youth poverty is to provide them education, that empowerment that gives them knowledge to deal with life, to confront their own realities when they're young or when they're old, is number one. And then after that, of course, we fight to provide them employment and provide them housing, provide them healthcare, and provide them all these great things that we have always talked about, which I don't need to repeat here. But the foundation for me of ensuring that you pull youth out of poverty is education. And every other thing will follow. We've talked about how to industrialize by fixing our energy processes and system. And the moment we do that, the number of young people that will flourish in this country will surprise you in the numbers, even after a few months of a proper government in place. What I'm asking you, and I will keep asking all of you, is to keep developing and pushing the consciousness of where we seem to be now. When I say where we seem to be, I've done broadcast a lot here before, and this is the first time I'm having a broadcast in which there are 6,149 people listening just from one device that I'm using. And I see that on Twitter space here, there's also a sizable number, just one. But there are over 6,000 people, 6,149 as I'm talking to you. This is a huge number of people, and I'm sure they spread across Nigeria and the diaspora. And these people are looking for one thing and one thing only, that opportunity in which they can find their voice, they can find the consciousness, and they can set up the opportunity to join hands together and fight a system that subjugated them. A lot of you who are speaking from abroad, I can feel you. The ones that are frustrated at home, I see you. We meet every day. I know what you are going through. I struggle with you. I eat with you in the same restaurant. I go to court with you where you are charged for offenses that you didn't commit. There's nothing that is happening that I don't know about, that I'm not part of. I'm also a victim of the injustice that you suffer on a daily basis, probably even more than most of you. So I understand. I'm not here trying to romanticize the problem. The problem affects me directly too, because I brought, of course, myself to it. I'm a person that you can say I got involved in reverse migration. I left and came back on my own and got entangled in a lot of ways. And I'm the happiest person that I'm one of the people confronting the problem headlong, Engineer Sani. Um, there's a question about the struggle for the well-being of Nigerians and going against the corrupt system. What I will say to you once again, without bragging, is that there's nothing else I've done in my life than go against these corrupt people. From my university days, I would even say secondary school days, I've always gone against powerful people, corrupt people, entrenched system. The I've done works against cabals, all kinds of very powerful people. Sometimes state and non-state actors. I was one of the young people who fought against the military. I don't think there's any version of the corrupt people in Nigeria that is better organized than the military. And of course, the political elite are also very well organized thieves. So it's not something that I have a problem with. It's something I'm versed in. I'm very used to fighting against entrenched system of subjugation and oppression, and sometimes the most vicious of them. It's just who I have been my entire life, and I just hope that so many of you can join in that struggle without wasting time. And that also said, was the plan in convincing young Nigerians, the strategy to galvanize youth? What are the plans? When you ask that question, you kept asking, and I could see from what you're asking that it's one aspect that is troubling to you, that we don't have enough young people who are on this side yet. Well, sometimes these are in stages, and some of the stages are stages that has to be passed first for some young people to go where they need to go, because young people love adventure. And now I'm glad that a lot of them have come to the realization that there's no other way out. There's no way to cajole the system. There's no way to appeal to the system. There's no way to reform the system, and everybody's coming back. And I have used every tool on my side to galvanize them. But what I'll say to you is that we also need every one of you, 6,000 of you listening, watching today. We may all not agree, because I'm sure there are people who are watching who may not agree with me. But a sizable number of people who have taken out their time to log on today, we need you to speak with one voice. If you have come to the realization and you are conscious enough that what we need is to all work together and mobilize ourselves and struggle to defeat this old order like they are doing in Kenya, or maybe 1,000-fold more than that, or Togo, all those very interesting places that you love to like their videos. People actually plan those things. What I'll tell you about Kenya, for instance, was that they did their own Revolution Now or Never in 2024, and we did our own in. I think it was probably July or June. Yes, it was June 2024. We did our own in August. Likely also inspired by what they were doing in Kenya. But what I realized is that the Kenyans did not stop since that time. Before they had this Ruto must go a few days ago, they have been planning it. So everybody's been talking about it. You can't hear anything. It's what's been trending for a long time. So we must all, there's nothing that one person can do by himself. So no matter how powerful I am, no matter how rich I am, no matter how influential I am, I cannot do the job by myself. And I'm using this opportunity to invite all of you to join the struggle and join the movement, the social movement that we have now become, to put an end to subjugation, oppression, corruption, incompetence, and impunity that has become the leadership in this country. That is what I want to appeal to. So I'm throwing that appeal back to you, that I can't do it alone, that we should all do it together. Be the influencer. If anybody knows me personally, will tell you I don't believe in relying on any big influencer. I say to everybody, become the influencer that you want to see, because it's easier to work with you if you're an influencer that's influenced by altruism than an influencer that has to be begged, you know, to moonlight for you as an activist. And when it becomes inconvenient, they just leave you. So, but if we have more people on our side, the battle becomes easier to win, and faster to execute. Thank you very much. So they said there was a conversation about accountability among local government. These are very key. Local governments are very important for the grassroots development that we want to see in the country. But the accountability part is what is not there. But I can assure you that in our own level, we will introduce the kind of technology that will make accountability very easy. I have often said it, and I'll repeat it again, that the biggest problem with our crooked politicians is because you make money available to them to spend the way they want. If American politicians have the same opportunity, they have the same loophole, they will exploit it. They will steal. There's nowhere thieves are given a free rein like we have in Nigeria that they will not steal. So it is for you to close the loophole. And I have said it repeatedly that we can leverage technology or use technology to leverage on creating transparency and accountability from local government to state, such that it won't be easy to steal what is meant for the population as easily as Nigerian leaders do today, and live an obscene and sinful uh, life of, uh, of, uh, of, of, of luxury at the expense of the Nigerian people. Swanky, you said the overview of Nigerian politics. You said we operate over, what I call a shady and shifty federal system of government. What do you do? What would you do to fix the NANS? With regards to NANS, I have always proposed that we have too many people in National Assembly that we don't need. It is always been my proposal that we should do a single, that is a unicameral legislative system in which you get rid of all these loafers in the National Assembly who don't even go to work but take home huge amount of pay, steal constituency funds, pad budgets. I actually initially used to think that the House of Representative would be ideal for us, but I've changed my position over time, and I think just a unicameral legislative system of 109 senators is enough, because we already have state house of assemblies, it's unicameral. We already have councillors in local government who are supposed to be legislators, and at the federal level, if we have a part-time legislative system made of 109 senators, I think it's something that is acceptable, and we should be able to manage that while we use the rest of our resources to fight for things that matter for our people. So completely, I'm against this bogus, huge and unproductive, unpatriotic and corrupt National Assembly that you have in place. And my goal, if I have my way, is to cut them to size by way of proposing a unicameral legislative system. South Korea has a unicameral legislative system. Senegal has a unicameral legislative system, so it's nothing new. Even the United Kingdom has I think, a unicameral legislative system that you call the UK Parliament. So we can do it here, so we can cut costs and just waste time on these unproductive parasites, as I love to call them. And you said fight we must, and I agree with you. Fight we must, but if we have more people fighting, we won't need to use dangerous weapons. And I believe that we can peacefully, no violently overthrow the old order. That's my belief. A lot of people have said maybe they don't believe that. Maybe we should escalate it to something more brutal. I don't believe that we need to shed blood of people, because when it comes to bloodshedding, then it becomes very difficult to determine whose blood is shed. And in most cases, it is the vulnerable that perish in those kind of adventures. And I do not want to do that. I do not think we should do that, considering that we don't even have a problem as huge as most want us to believe. We just have less than 0.5% of the population of this country holding the rest to ransom. It's something that if we just get 1 million people to rise today, this could be over pretty quickly. Thank you very much. That's my submission regarding the last question. I've done 11 questions now, just to let you know. Thank you.
So sorry. Please pardon your citizens. Please.
Problem.
Itching to do. They want to know who.
No problem. No
Yes,
problem. Go ahead,
and
please. Mm.
yes, thank you. Sachi, do you want me to continue or love to take over?
I think you're doing a great job. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, great, good.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Let me share,
You have
Chichi. Let me just say you're doing a great job as well. I want to add my voice to that. I don't want to forget. Thank you.
I want a great Nigeria so I can come home and use my degree back home.
Yes, we can't wait to have you back.
Yeah, but thank you so much, sir. Alrighty, we'll continue with our questions and probably we can round up soon so that Sowore can also continue with other things. And yeah, so first of all, we'll have George. Oh, sorry, no, Gaba, your hand has been up for a while, so please can you go on with your question? Thank you.
Thank you, Chichi, for the opportunity. You're welcome, Mr. Sowore. I think I started following his activities and some other things that regards to him because of Chichi. Chichi was my friend for like a month ago now. Met him once. So we're even discussing about the way forward for the company. Even though we have some differences. So I'm a member of APC. I come to realize that things are not working anymore in the country. So we have some discussion. We discuss. She DM me and we exchange some important this thing with regard to the country. I have some question, but then some people ask the question that I wanted to ask. So there's no need for me to repeat some of the question, but I have one problem with regard to the northern part of the country. Unfortunately, what pains me the most with regard to northern part of the country particularly, it's not that I don't care about the other part of the country. So many people have asked questions that regards to other part of the country, so it's no problem. But what pains me the most, you see this almajiri issue. I think Chimezi, one of the co-hosts, Chimezi, yes, asked question earlier about this almajiri issue. But I went to pray. I think I didn't hear some part of the answers that Mr. Sowore gave. You see, this almajiri issue. If there is anything that any leader, any person that can become president in this country today can do to this part of the country, at least to eliminate this idea of people going around in the name of almajiri. I think if anybody can do this, just one thing, to me, just one thing, to be able to incorporate these people to come to school, between their religious, learning, seeking Quranic knowledge and the hadiths of the Prophet, like what Mr. Sowore mentioned. I had that part of his answer about allow them to continue their Quranic knowledge and as well introduce the Western education knowledge to them. That is the only thing that we are lacking. And this exploitation is going on for so many long time. It's still going on. And what will pains you the most is that there's you can't see any northern government that comes with an agenda to be able to cope this issue. Or any person that becomes a president, be it in northern or western, that is ready to do it. But thank God, he has some plan for it. Yes, you can give some credit to Kulogabede Jonathan by introducing all those almajiris to the part of the country. But the hypocrisy of politics in this country will not, particularly in the northern part of the country, will not allow those kind of things to go on. So, Mr. Sowore, you have a challenge, a very serious challenge, particularly from the northern part of the country, when you are ready to take on this almajiri issue of the president. The reason is the malams that are taking their almajiris are not ever ready because they are benefiting from them. You go to farm for them, you rear their cows, whatever, they do this and that, but they don't do anything on their own. One. Two, another serious threat with regard to this almajiri issue is the politicians. From the president down to the council, they are using these almajiris as political talks. I'm sure Sowore has that knowledge. They are using them as political talks. And that is the biggest reason that they are using this part of the country to be able to schedule, snatch ballot box on the day of election. Go and kill this one, they give them weight, they give them all sort of things, something that you can think of. To go and kill first place, at the age of 2, 3, 4, you see become a mother. You give birth to a baby boy. At the age of 3, 4 years, take him away, not doing from school to bed. How many kilometers? Over 8,000 kilometers. We are close to giving to one that you don't even know anything about. So what do you think at the end of the day is going to cross? What do you think is going to do? You see what this insecurity that we are facing? Most of them, if you go and interview them, if you can have an opportunity to talk to them, you find out that those are the kind of people that they just give back to them anyhow and throw them away. Yes, I came from a family whereby my father has 2 wives. But then we are almost 30 or 31 or 32 in our house. None of us ever go to school. None of us. And the least we have, I can tell you, is yes. Yes, some have HND, some of people, particularly. Okay, thank you very much. So, please, Mr. Sowore, I don't know what you can do, please, to be able to eliminate this almajiri issue. And I pray that you cannot be like the other presidential people. So other people that have the opportunity to lead the country, the name of president of the country, without doing anything about it, because they are using those almajiris as a weapon of political whatever reason they have to be able to scale through during elections. So I pray that you cannot be the same with them to be able to take care of this almajiri issue. And what will be your foreign policy if you can explain to me? Please, that's the second question. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let's give you the mic very fast so that we can get across to all the speakers. Then have our guest from the Sowore response to them, and then pick it up from there to begin to wrap up. Let's take up the changes, questions, submission. Yes, let's have.
Hello everybody. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Maybe you should come to the mic a little bit so that we can hear you more clearly.
How about now? Can you hear me? Okay, now.
The manage. Yeah, the manage just get it.
Wow, my name is first and foremost, I want to thank the organizers, but I don't know what happened. You guys obviously have to do this again. You have to do whatever you have to do to make this president come back. Because I'm not satisfied with the audio. This is such a very, very important thing that's going on here. And so we cannot deny of Nigerians to really have what's going on. I'm lost again.
Yeah, I'm sorry about many of us have to divide our votes to actually make it with our guests.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, fantastic. Better now, far better.
I really don't know what's going on here.
You can drop back down and come back up if you're still having network issues. Because it's quite cracky. It keeps glitching. That's why.
It keeps glitching.
Yeah.
Let me drop and come back.
All righty. Okay, we'll quickly take Chibu. And then George, please. Chibu, are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
Good evening. Okay, good evening, Nigerians, and good evening to the Honorable Omoyele Sowore. Please, my question is direct. Please, I want to know what you do about this tribal bigotry that is eating deep in our youth. Because the way we attack each other, I don't really like it. I don't know if there is a kind of law that you can introduce that is going to stop people attacking people other people. Or even if you want to make a point, you don't need to generalize it. When one person does something, then you generalize it that the whole tribes are the same. I don't know if there's any law that is going to put a stop to such tribal bigotry that's eating deep into our country now and currently. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Alrighty, Civic, do you want to quickly introduce your space and then we'll get on with the last question?
Yes, just in one move. It's been all praise to the ancestors for having the privilege to have a common president, the very destroyed. And a lot of us have to provide all odds to be here. And I'm sure a lot of listeners are struggling with network. I believe we'll do this again. Very, very, very. I'm so convinced we'll do this again sometimes in the future, not too far future. But I'm going to be very, very convinced. Civic Space have been listening to Nigerians across both online, offline. We've been having an interface with young minds, both Nigerians, the senior citizens, and every strata of society. And it's not been encouraging the feedback that we are getting from the Nigerian people, especially from the Nigerian youth. The youths who should have been fed up the status quo, youths who should have been fed up with all of the years of deprivement of opportunities. It seems as though the Nigerian youth or the Nigerian people, by and large, are still very much interested in playing the political chess game with the establishment class, the parasitic class, as a lot of people call them. How do we navigate this at a time where the mass number of people should be clamoring for a fresh set of leadership, that a mass number of people should actually be class conscious to mobilize for candidates such as you, who has clearly proven beyond every reasonable doubt that you are for the oppressed class. So it seems as though the oppressed class seems to be attracted or be interested in supporting their oppressors power time and time again. And at this time where it should have been expected that the oppressed class should have had it enough, it seems we are going back to the circle all over again. What is your pulse as far as this feedback is concerned? And just want to get your feedback generally as far as this is concerned. Thank you so much. And I would like you to respond to other questions before we take the last set of speakers from wrap up today. Because we hope to have you sometime very, very soon. Because today are very, very careful based on every indications that has. I do not want this to happen. But we just have to make it happen. So your response, please, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, I agree with the general sentiment that we should do this again. It's very interesting. I'm looking at my numbers here and the stream that I'm using directly. There are 6,954 people watching. Here I'm on video here, and they're only watching my responses. They can barely hear you, and you can barely hear me on Twitter. And I think uh, next time we will have to get more tech people involved. This shouldn't be an excuse at all. But I'll go into your. I'll start with yours, which is that the level of consciousness of the youth and why some of you or some of us are frustrated that more young people are not following uh, the kind of ideas and ideology that would have offered us the opportunity and the liberation we need at this time. And what I'll say is not an excuse, it is a reality that the people who are holding us to ransom are investing a lot. They have money, they have energy, they have resources, they have connections, they have influence, and they have those very powerful tools to degrade and distract and create retrogression in society. And so we are up against these very powerful people with nothing. We are scratching the bottom of the barrel with our hands to even get this number of people we are talking to. as opposed to people who have billions, some of them billions of dollars, to hire anybody they want to speak for them. They can hire an imam, they can hire a pastor, they can hire a judge, they can hire army officers, police officers, they can hire musicians, they can hire people we call influencers. I mean, influencers. They can hire anybody to do anything to you or to do something against you. So they are out there. The number of forces that are drowning out our voices, ensuring that our messages don't percolate to the bottom. They are many. They are very powerful, and they are using the same population we are trying to recruit from, which are the young people, to say things that demobilize people. If you go to Twitter and you say something that is about progress, the likelihood of a person responding to you say no progress, the person is a young person who have been paid in most cases to do it. Sometimes they are not even paid, but the influence of those who are paid have gotten to them, and it's a whole lot of sociological explanation to make. But that's not an excuse. Where I stand and where we stand in our movement and in our movement life is that even if it is 10 people that we have, we keep going with the 10, and we hope the 10 will become 100, and 100 will become 1,000, and 1,000 will become a million, or 100,000, and then a million. And one day, these voices of strong, passionate individuals within our ranks will get everywhere. And that's what I keep going back to in appealing to all of you. That whenever we participate in this, don't let it stop there. Don't say, oh, I listened to Sowore on the space. He said nice things, or he said things I kind of agree with. Take it and refine it. What you may not agree with, but you have an idea, and push that idea. What needs to happen is that the ideas that are progressive need to be the one trending in our country, and not the ones that are not going to bring progress. And the moment we understand that and we join hands together, we'll get there. Even on Twitter that we are talking about, if the same thing they are doing in Kenya is happening here, where everybody is trending revolution or whatever you want to call it, and the trends for a week, everybody's going to stop and say, wait a minute. There are some of us who have taken on individually taken on struggles that have changed society. I don't know how many. Somebody was mentioning fighting for police. Police shoot me all the time. They've nearly killed me several. They still tear gassed me a month ago. But that's not going to stop me from bringing about, because I know without a police force or a security system or the civil service that serves with dignity, or that I'm properly motivated and properly cared for, you are wasting your time. So you cannot, because of the bad eggs in the police, refuse to fight for a police force where people get paid proper pension. There is no policeman that should be getting less than 20 million naira after they have served for. I can't even believe I'm saying 20 million. It should be more than that. But let's say that's what we have after they've served for 35 years, because our senators are taking home 30 million naira per month. There's no reason why a person who has risked his life for 35 years should earn less than a senator. So I'm just coming back there to say, well, it's up to us to keep also moving in the right direction, and mobilizing people of like minds, and not just get frustrated and throw our hands up each time we come on Twitter and say, oh man, what is trending is nonsense, so I go back home. No, trend what you believe in, recruit others to do that. That's how we got here today. If people like me had given up each time I feel disappointed about the youth, by now I won't be in front of you talking about, or sitting in front of you talking about the issues that matter to you. Somebody, Chidi said we should do it again. I agree, Dr. Chidi. And the Chibu, you talked about tribal bigotry, and said, I completely agree with you as well. But the reason why there's tribal bigotry. Your politicians are the ones behind it. They love it when you are divided. So, and they are the ones who are fueling the rhetoric of tribal bigotry and hate in the system. But in a proper society that we are working towards and working for, we guarantee that this will not be an issue. But were it to be an issue, yes, laws can be made to say to people you're not allowed to discriminate against people based on their tribe or talk down on them. Every society has its own boundaries uh, and red lines for how people are treated in those kind of situations and contexts. So definitely, uh, I understand how you feel, and I know where you are talking from. I know which, how you feel, because that's been very dominant, especially since this Tinubu regime came into office. Uh, but it's not something that applies to us. We don't engage in that, and but I understand what you're saying. Let me go to Garba's question, which is say if you can eliminate almajiri, exploitation, northern governors, and Garba, I'll say one thing or maybe a few things, and that will let you understand. First is that I served in the north for a year, not a long time, but I understand where almajiris come from. I served in Adamawa, and I was in Yola, and saw I know who are the people behind Amajiris. I know how the imams are involved. But the way to stop Amajiri, first and foremost, is to stop the machine that produces it, which is when parents, are separated from their kids or they are forcefully separated from them. Those are criminal activities that law enforcement can handle because there has to be a lot of components to it. So, and the second thing I want to say, how I feel about education. I was the one who criticized northern governors recently when they gave long holidays for what they claim was Islamic events. That's a month prior to when people are writing like I went after them, and it was very popular in the country, including very popular in the north. But of course, the pushback was also very rhetorical. Oh, he doesn't respect our religion. He's trying to disrespect our leaders because I went after them, all these governors. I said, you go to Saudi Arabia every year to go for Hajj and Umrah, and the Saudi Arabia calendar for students doesn't they don't mess with they don't mess with their students. They don't shut down schools because of fasting. So why are you doing it here? Saudi Arabia is a better origin of religion for most of you. uh, and I would insist that nobody close down schools, and I made it clear during that period. If I'm president of Nigeria, you are not closing down schools because of fasting. If people who are old enough to fast will make arrangement for them to start and break fast, we can adjust the calendar, no doubt. But we are not closing down schools for fasting, and that's some of the ways we are going to eliminate the Zamajiri system. And like I said, there are a lot of moving parts to it and components. Some of them is crime. We'll handle it as crime for others. Some of those malams or imams that are handling this Zamajiri are also abusing them, and wherever you make example of a few of them, you realize that nobody wants to be an Amajiri Malam anymore. But I know it's not going to be easy, but tough decisions are made by tough leaders. And I'm going to be a leader who will make tough decisions, but I'll carry the entire country along. So, and I know that not like I said, it's not a monolithic place, and Northerners wants to go to school. And there is no reason to bifurcate education by calling it Western education. Education is education, uh, because we have come to realization that it empowers and uplifts people, and it helps society and individuals. So that's the way I will answer that. Foreign policy you asked about. Well, one of the things I might not be doing a lot of is this big brother Africa foreign policy. But I will be a sharp foreign policy intervener on the continent of Africa, and it will be towards creating a Pan African setup, an Africa that is loosely united in such a way that, same way you have the European Union, I would like to have an African Union, but not the one that we have in Ethiopia right now, but a union that's of African countries that are integrated, in which commerce can be facilitated, integration and currency can be commonly used, and an Africa that has less borders than it has now. So that would be my foreign policy focus: is Pan African or a united African setting to bring about better prosperity and power for the African people and the continent as well. So that's my answer to the first 15 questions. I yield.
We sincerely apologize.
Not a problem.
Thank
Let's
you
keep.
for having that patience for us.
Not a
Yes.
problem.
All right, team. We have Dr. Chidi, and then we have George, Africa in a Box, Deploy, and then Swaz as well. So, alrighty, let's go.
All right, thank you very much. Um, I don't know where to start, but you must understand that if at this time of an age of a movement, I still get up in a sitting like this and I'm asking Sowore a question, then I must be the most hopeless of men. I can't be asking Sowore a question right now. I am to be telling people what I know Sowore thinks about everything. And that's the worry that I have. And that's my frustration. I know Sowore keeps mentioning that we don't get frustrated. But it's important that as young people in Nigeria, we understand what we're into. People like Sowore, it's funny, I was talking with Sowore about Revolutionnow the other day. And it was funny to us how some people are still expecting somebody like Revolutionnow to be coming out for protest. So you find a situation where people like Sowore, it's not about age, but Sowore has become almost like an ancestor with this protest and agitating and speaking up for young people. Listen, I have a 15-year-old child. There are some things that he's doing right now. I have expectations to him. He is not looking up to me to go and do certain things for him. He dare not even do that. So for young people in Nigeria, I'm wondering, look back to those days of independence. Look at Azikiwe, look at Awolowo, look at all those people, how old they were. Look at even the military officers who did those kills in those days, in Zongo, all of those people. Check how old they were. They were in their 20s, 30s. And we're still right now putting Sowore and asking him what we should be doing. No, I'm asking you, what are you doing? That's where we should be right now. Like, how old is Sowore right now? How old was he when it started? There's so many people of his generation. It's frustrating, man. I'm telling you guys. Sometimes when you don't, Sowore has some kind of energy, I don't understand where he gets it from. Me, I don't have that kind of energy. I don't have that kind of patience. So sometimes you see me, I just get frustrated and I park somewhere and do other things. Then I come back. Thank God for him that just keeps everybody on the straight and narrow. But let's not be clapping our hands so that we're keeping somebody like him and asking him questions. For how many years? Like, for how long? People like Sowore should be retired. Like, it'd be like, you know, when Mandela fought for South African independence and then became president and now retired. That's what we should be doing right now. So I'm sorry I'm taking your time. I'm supposed to be asking questions. I'm not asking questions, but this is something that, what do I want to ask Sowore? What hasn't he answered in videos? What hasn't he answered in protests? What hasn't he answered in talking, in speaking up till now? He's one man now. It's one man. By now, there should be 1 million of Sowores in Nigeria. What else do you want to hear him say? So that's what I would really love to see. I would like to see spaces like this where we come as guests and listen to you guys. Sowore has done, you know how many times he has done something like this? 1 million times. Just Google it online. So it's good to have Sowore come to this kind of things, but let's not be too happy that it's happening. We should be sad. It's a very sad situation. Very, very sad situation. We're still asking him now. We've been listening. Come on now. We've been listening to him for how many years and you're still asking him these questions?
It actually is making him sad.
Come on, my ranting.
I have to agree with you, Sajidi. I genuinely have to agree with you. You know, we should be moving forward. The world is moving. We're meant to be, in the future and forward, but we are still back in the 1990s. We're still doing the same thing that should not be done. But honestly, I do share your opinion. But please, let's have the next speaker so that we can get everybody to talk quickly.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. First and foremost, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, so I'll make my question very fast and very quick. First and foremost, thank you guys for organizing this, and also to Mr. Sowore, because he has been someone that one of the last few people, men of integrity in this country. So in fact, I see him as one of those in the league of even more than one student union president in the past, one Mikey Guinea, who was the head of INEC in Saba for a very long time or so. And he was the one that gave me some measure of confidence about the IREV and BVAS, that we could actually trust the system. Unfortunately, there are so many few people who can actually say things, and then the young people of today will believe. Just like the last speaker said, people. We should be doing more than this, not just asking Sowore questions, but people are frustrated. Nigeria has a very different dynamic, a place where people are more focused on materialistic ideologies rather than passion and patriotism. All right, so my question is, I know Mr. Sowore has been in the political space for a while, and it seems like I don't think his message is getting across. It's not getting across to the grassroots. How do we effectively deliver this message to the grassroots? Because currently, it seems as if there is a deliberate attempt, to put him in a box. Because he's one guy that says what he means and means what he says. They want to put him in a box and always reference his days as a student leader and all that. Which is not a bad thing to reference to say, but in Nigeria, it means to the political class that he's a smaller individual. But that is not the case. So how do we effectively get the message grassroots and then improve on the visibility and the education of the populace on your message and your mission? Now, and then the last question is, how can you work currently to improve on electoral reforms? How can we push for that? Because without a trusted electoral system where people would actually go for elections and trust that their votes will count, there's no way people can trust the system. This is what we are facing. Even people as good as Mr. Sowore, who has integrity, who can actually lead this country, will not get there because the electoral system is already flawed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Thank you very much for having me. Good evening, my comrade president, and well done, my host and co-host. Yeah, so I have just one question, my president. How are you gonna approach trade liberalization? You said it earlier that you wouldn't bother reviving Agile quota, but I didn't actually get the reason because I was distracted by someone. And to be honest, in my own opinion, based on research, there is always going to be a technological advancement, right? It's an omnipresent factor, and we've seen that our sectors have actually faced the impact of trade liberalization that's actually being advocated by the Western countries. Infrastructure like Ajaokuta that you mentioned, we know that it did actually get completed after the structural adjustment program was actually initiated, and we saw decline of Delta Steel Company. Delta Steel Company also at that moment, and also we saw all over Africa our textile industry actually, went out of the market, all because imported products was actually favored, and we blame it on technological advancement. But what I see is trade liberalization effect, because I realize over the research I've made that even the developed countries that preach trade liberalization do not trade liberalize. If you look at 2018 when China was producing massively EVs that was very, very cheap and actually dumping it in the United States. The United States had to slam 25%. That was the first time in 2018 on China EV, just to protect their own local producers, Tesla and Ford. So what I see is that technological advancement is an omnipresent factor, and we cannot abandon our infrastructure because there's a new technology. Rather, we have to protect our old infrastructure but by not implementing trade liberalization, we protect it as we advance technologically. I see that as the only way, and I want to ask, how would you approach how would you approach this factor, trade liberalization? So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. And I just want to also add one question. Yeah, just give me a minute. Sorry, I just wanted to also ask, what would you say?
Please, are you there, Swaz?
Yes, hold on. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I'm here, but she is speaking.
Right.
She can hear.
Please go for it.
Yes, sorry, thank you. I just wanted to, because I know that a lot of my youth of my generation are.
Are you there?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you, Civic.
Civic can hear us.
He's having network issues for sure.
All right. Swaz, are you there now?
Yes, he's here. He's here, Civic. He's having network issues. Okay, I'll quickly go. So, what would you say to the youth? Because
Chichi, are you there?
Civic, can you hear me? Chichi is speaking.
He's having network issues.
Yes.
Yeah, but he's having. Sorry. Okay, I'll quickly go. So, I know that I've spoken to a lot of the youth, and I can tell that they are not even bothered, or some of them are not sure what to do, and a lot of them have given up, on Nigeria because of how things are going. And a lot of them, I say, oh, you work with this person, oh, you're with Tinubu, you're working with why you after and all that, So what would you say to the youths, with how everything is going, and with all these, allegations happening with fans and Sahara reporters and all that? So that's my question. Yeah, show us, please.
All right, thank you very, very much. So mine will just be a short-term publicity, then one question and an appeal. I'll just make it as quick as possible. So the publicity is on the Unstoppable Friends of Sowore support group, which is a support group that is dedicated to getting Sowore at least 10 million votes from 2027, and we're organizing as our central organizing platform is on WhatsApp, because everybody, the over 6,000 persons who are on this listening are on WhatsApp. They all have a WhatsApp account. So our WhatsApp channel, the link to it is on the Jumbotron. WhatsApp can take millions of persons. The WhatsApp channel, can take millions of persons. So whatever activities we're engaged in on any platform, Instagram, TikTok, because we post X spaces every single day, more than one spaces a day, right? Shishi here was spaces, Shimizi also hosts spaces, Civic space, engineer, a lot of persons that host space every day, and we also host live on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, and even Facebook Lives. So we get to put these details, connect to every member via the WhatsApp channel, and also we daily and update members, yes, on progresses and things about Sowore, and also we put lessons there and basically things about our ideology and what we represent. So that being said, the appeal is quite simple, and I know we've asked Sowore for a lot, but I want to ask him here if he can consider reposting the link to the WhatsApp channel. But even if that is not possible, Omoyele Sowore himself has a personal WhatsApp channel called Revolutionnow, and if he can also repost that a lot to get people into the channel. The channel takes almost an unlimited amount of persons. Millions of persons can be accommodated there. And we know Omoyele Sowore is tech savvy. He controls this WhatsApp channel himself, and we need more persons in this channel. We need more persons learning and knowing about Omoyele Sowore. Just the way Sowore was able to pin the Sowore community on X on his profile, and now we have over 5,000 members in that community. I think this will also go a long way. So that's the appeal. But to conclude on the appeal, we also have councillorship candidates in Lagos, and they're doing a fantastic job. Door-to-door campaigns. The Lagos State Chairman is also on it, and I think Sowore realizes this, right? If we can also find a way maybe to push on their candidacy, I know it's a lot to ask. Other candidates don't do it. We don't find other presidential candidates or party chairmen doing this with their platform, with their Twitter pages. They really post about these things. But if Sowore can do this for us, for our candidates, it will go a long way, especially our Anambra State governorship candidate also. So this is the appeal. Then this is the question. The question is there any update on our councillorship or councillors, yes, in the north, in Babushi and I think Jigawa, if there's any update on them? Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll quickly have Diplo and Valerie, just so we can, and then Sowore can try. I'm so sorry, but yeah, please let's go Diplo quickly.
Yeah, good evening, thank you, host and co-host. Can you hear me, please?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir, please.
Okay, all right, thank you. And I want to say good evening to wonderful comrade Omoyele Sowore. I just, like Dr. Chidi said, I don't have a question to ask Omoyele Sowore, because I was even tempted to answer the question from, I think, 2 speakers ago that was asking how do we make his message popular, because he has said all that needs to be said, honestly. I just have a request for him. And that request is if he can just take, before rounding up, 2-3 minutes to speak to the consciousness of Nigerian youths, at least tonight. Because I know a lot of people are here that normally they are not on our spaces, they are not regular listeners to show Omoyele Sowore. If you can just take 2 or 3 minutes to speak to their consciousness, because I believe every question that we are asking Sowore, we all know the answer to these problems.
Exactly.
But there's this kind of, I don't know, maybe a spell, do I call it a spell, that the political elites have cast on the youth of this country, that they keep supporting the same people who are putting them in this trouble. I don't know, maybe, I know we need a mental shift, a psychological shift or something. So I don't know if Comrade can just take 2 or 3 minutes to speak directly to the consciousness of these youths on the need for them to rise up for themselves, for the need for them to support themselves. Youth still go on spaces and argue about who among these old people who have ruled our parents, who are still ruling us, who are setting up their children to rule us, which one is better than the other, which one should come in 27, which one should we support. Meanwhile, these guys are supposed to be the one contesting for these positions. I see youths arguing about Tinubu, Atiku, Peter Obi. You that you are supposed to be contesting for these positions. So I just need that. I'm just making that request, 2 or 3 minutes to speak directly to their consciousness and let them know the reason why nobody is coming to deliver them. They must stand up for themselves. So thank you very much. That's my request.
Thank you, Diplo. I'm so sorry, Sowore. I just need a few more people to just answer, and then this will be our last set, because the space will be coming to an end for Sowore, Sowore, so you will need to go. So we'll take Valerie, Sini. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name properly. Onalo and Lega. You guys need to change your names, please. But yes, please, go ahead. Valerie, please.
Oh, okay. He doesn't want to reply before I go. Good evening, Sowore. Okay, so my question is very, very simple. Like, does Sowore think that the opposition or coalition is doing is doing their best to unseat APC. I wanted to just ask what other strategy, in his opinion, does he think that we should take to unseat APC, because a lot of things are going on in the back channel where APC is trying to gain momentum and do what they did 2023 and get into power again. So if anything we're meant to be doing that we're not doing, so we can know on time and plan and strategize. Yeah. And do you think, the second question, do you think we're doing enough as citizens to protest and against this economy hardship? What can we do not to get arrested and stuff like that? Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Thank you. All right, Simi, please go ahead.
Okay, Valerie have taken over my question, but let me add what she asked. Because me, I don't believe in any messiah coming to save anyone. So my question to Oga Omo Iyele is, what can we do as Nigerian youth to salvage our country from what is happening right now? Do we need to wait till 2027? Because every day I keep seeing Nigeria dying and it breaks my heart. My question is, what can we do to stop this madness going on now? Because the country belongs to all of us. It's not to some few individuals. So my question is, what can we do to rescue our nation from this political bandit that we have right now? Thank you. And thank you for finding time to come and speak to the youth also. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we have our last two speakers, Onalo and Lega, and that will be it. That will be it.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening, our comrade. My question is goes like this. Number one, yeah, I've been following Shori for a long time, and I know he's going to make a wonderful president someday. But if I would want to I want to hear your opinion about what you think about the coalition. That's number one. Number two, if you realistically look at the applications and the options in front of you, and you sincerely think that you might not win the election, is there a possibility of you supporting any other candidate that has a better chance to winning the election? Is there a possibility? Do you think there's any other person out there apart from you that can actually do the job and that you can support for now, so that we just take away this bad government and then we can restart the nation, just kickstart the system and see what happens in the future? That's my question.
Thank you, Onalo. And please, guys, when Sir Shore goes, please let's stay back and let's discuss everything that has been answered today. Lega, please.
All right, it's actually here. Good evening, Babayede. Thank you for taking out the time to come speak to us. And what I would want to ask is, lastly, with respect to two questions, but I'll just sum it up. First is the plans you have for low-cost, affordable social housing, right, for the Nigerian people. And two, I would like you to retreat again, because people keep talking about COM27. I think I would like you to speak to the people once again to let them know that if they are ready today, we can take over the system. If Nigerian people, the Nigerian youth are ready today, right, they're right behind them. We've been running whether every 4 year cycle or no 4 years, right? We are constantly fighting, resisting the system. And so I would like you to retreat again once more before this audience this evening, to let them know that irrespective of the election cycle, whenever the people are ready, we are ready with them to take over the system and cause a complete overhaul. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sir Shore. I know we've asked you a lot of questions, and we sincerely and deeply apologize, but please, you have to speak to answer.
Thank you so much, Chichi and Civic Space and Chimeze. You guys are the stars of tonight. I would say that to you. Thank you so much, and I hope you keep this up. and continue to grow from strength to strength. My answers will be starting from the questions that, well, Dr. Chidi didn't ask any question. He was just, as usual, he said he wanted to rant. There's also a guy who mentioned Mikey Guinea. The only thing I need to tell you is that Mikey Guinea is my close friend. In fact, Mikey Guinea was president of the University of Benin Student Union government when I was the president of the University of Lagos Student Union government, and we're still friends till tomorrow. Um, so the question about messages getting to the grassroots, I want to address it properly from the point of view of what is the grassroots today. Again, the grassroots is not the grassroots of market women sitting down trying to sell vegetables and yam and onions and okra. The grassroots has become very dynamic, and it's also very technologically advanced. So, what so many people still think that the grassroots is still the conventional grassroots. Fundamental mistake. Your mom, my sister, your brother, your uncle, everybody is part of an ecosystem, a grassroots ecosystem that's pretty much online these days. So whatever messages you are broadcasting that needs to be broadcast, it's just a matter of amplifying it consistently. It will get to the grassroots. It will percolate to the grassroots. What is left of the grassroots of 1979 or 1980 or 2000 is very small. Even the people that are in the grassroots, in the market women that we refer to a lot, the drivers, all of them are transacting business on our 110 million internet penetration ecosystem now. So let's just understand that grassroots is not what grassroots used to be. The messages that you and I are passing out here today is getting to the grassroots because somebody is listening that you never thought could be listening. And by the way, just as we talked about the last group of people who joined, we on my side are now at 8,134 people watching this. 8,134. So if we stay here for another, what I've discovered very interesting is that the number of people who are watching on the stream that we have in front of us kept increasing because more and more people are interested in what we are saying. But the grassroots is that is part of the grassroots. It is just very powerful way of reaching people. The grassroots is offline but also online now, so don't forget that. Somebody mentioned improve the visibility of the message and the mission. How can you cause electoral reform? Electoral reform is something that I have known a lot about because I've actually contested elections before, twice now. And the kind of electoral reform that will come to Nigeria has to be a revolutionarily driven electoral reform. It has to be, protest driven. It can't be done by the kind of very insipid advocacy of let's go and drop letter to senators who rig election to the Senate or House of National Assembly can never reform the electoral process. And the reason we keep discussing electoral reform is because the electoral practitioners in our country are also part of the executive. And one of the issues we must address urgently is to look at this from the point of separating INEC from the presidency. The president of the country still appoint INEC chairman. He appoints the national commissioner. Most of the INEC chairman and national commissioner, we met with them 3 days ago. The APC people, they're a bunch of old agbada wearing people. They don't reason with all these things we are talking about. I still went to a party meeting 3 days ago. I mean, between INEC and all the party leaders, 18 political parties. And now they are going to register more parties just so that there will be more political activities out there. But what I want to tell you is that you are not going to have electoral reform just by wishing it happen. That is why I agree with the sentiments that ran through all the question here is that are we waiting for 2027 before we act? I am not one of the people waiting for 2027. I'm imploring you here today, those of you who are listening to me, listen very well. don't wait for 2027. 2027 is their own date. There's nobody that will tell you that if you can liberate yourself tomorrow, you should wait till 2027. I don't know what kind of mindset drives that, but I know it's the calendar of the oppressor. It is not the calendar you should listen to. You should listen to your heart. You should read the room and read the mood of the public. People are tired and they are just looking for a way out. They want to break out of this bondage, and we should serve as the catalyst that will bring people out of bondage, that will liberate the Nigerian people, that will work with them to liberate themselves. So that is what we should be talking about, not to be saying 2027. I love it if we can have 2027 free and free election, electoral reform, but our level of electoral decadence has passed the stage of reform as well. That you should have at the back of your mind. And I know it might sound a bit counterintuitive that, oh, you're planning election, but I'm saying, the election I'm planning, or it's a revolution, and it can happen now. And if they decide that we can do it in 2027, good for them. But we should not be the one who are tied down by a calendar of an election that probably, whose result has already been written by the Tinubu regime. And that's how you're going to approach trade liberalization, Western countries. Well, this is a very interesting question because I know a lot about it. That the people who ask for trade liberalization, especially the Western countries, are those who tightly guide their trade secrets and trade ideology and philosophy and policies globally. And that is why they created the World Trade Organization, so that they can foist upon you products that they make and make sure you don't make it. So some of you perhaps don't know, for instance, that whether we grow enough wheat or not in Nigeria, and anybody who produces bread will testify to this, you must buy a certain number of wheat from the US. You must import wheat to Nigeria to make bread from the US, even when you can make it locally, as long as you're a member of the World Trade Organization. But the interesting thing is that the US government is subsidizing farmers to grow wheat, but they are opposed to you subsidizing your farmers to grow wheat here. And what I will also answer with regards to international trade is not to copycat anybody, but to do what they taught us, which is simple economics, comparative advantage. Grow the things that are easiest for you to grow and sell it internationally. I don't know why, for instance, we cannot be shipping out groundnut oil or palm oil, because a barrel of palm oil is $600 per barrel. The barrel of crude, which has to devastate the environment and destroy everywhere, is only maybe $89 per barrel. And by the time the war of Israel and Iran is over, it probably go back to 70. So we have a lot of areas where we have comparative advantage. We can grow cotton, we can grow sesame. I have told you guys before, and you say Sowore has come again. We can be exporting weed, cannabis. Is not the one that will make people high alone, but it's a very powerful international product from which Canada alone makes over $4 billion a year from one city. And you have the comparative advantage to grow it in Ondo State, in Delta State, in Edo State. You are here burning it. Foolish people. So, but that's just one. There's several areas where we have comparative advantage that will aid our ability to, produce and earn income from a lot of products that we have without doing copycats. And I'm for technological development. I'm for creating industries that can create, big products. But if you look at it internationally today, if the highest or top ranking companies doing well in the world, no one of them is making steel as such, because the nature of the industrial world keeps changing based on demands for technology and services. So that's how I look at international trade and trade liberalization. But I think on a bigger scale, having an integrated African continent with whom we can do trade is also a huge opportunity for us. So that Africa is not just about borders that we smuggle things in and out of, but a continent where countries can do business with themselves and make money and share prosperity as well. So that's my answer to that. What would you say to youth with? Oh yes, this is the conversation about young people who go out there blackmailing and blackballing people. I don't think there's anything anybody can do about that. It is for those of you who didn't know me for a long time ago. I'm very used to all this. There's no time that any young person comes out in this country or a person who wants to make impact, and you will not be confronted with all kinds of distractions. They'll call you all kinds of names. It just comes with the territory. The only way you can exist in a country of 200 million people and people will not say bad things about you, make up stories about you, try to destroy you, is if you are not making impact. The more you make impact, the more they come after you, and they'll come after you with security. I mean, police write things against me. I don't know how many groups of people have protested against me in the last 1 month alone. 3 protests, well-funded protests. Why do you think they are doing that? It's because I have become it's because of impact. So I don't think anybody should worry about it. You should worry if I'm not doing what is right, then you should worry about me. But if I'm doing what is right and getting pushbacks, then you should be happy for me and be happy for the fact that we are all working together. And then they said, yes, Unstoppable Friends of Sowore appeal to push Sowore Now channel. Oh, I would do the councillorship candidates in Lagos, Anambra. I see our Anambra candidate here today, Chuma Femelu DK. By the way, when I was at INEC meeting, I wasn't not yesterday or day before. I think it was yesterday actually. They asked me to name the name of our candidate in Anambra State, our governorship candidate. And I said to everybody, including where the APC chairman, who's now been removed, was there. I think it was 3 days ago. They said, they said it jokingly to me, who is your candidate? Because they were asking the parties to name their candidates. Uh, the Abga person said, oh, of course, it's Soludo. There's some other candidate said, another female. Said, who's your candidate? I said, well, our candidate is a star. You don't need to mention, you all know her. And they laughed. Interestingly, there's nobody in that hall that didn't know our candidate. Amazing. That's Choma, because what? She's a star. That star we rise over Anambra and bring its old glories back and bring back a new order, a new time. Any updates about councillorship in the councillorship candidates who won on a ticket in Bauchi and Jigawa? I think yes, there is. They have done affidavit we submitted to INEC, so uh, I think it's a party secretary that's in a better position to answer that at this time. So maybe next time we'll get an update, but I think he's in touch with them according to him. Diplosoft say request to speak to conscious Nigerian youth for 3 minutes. That's what we've been doing all day. We've done this for more than almost 2 hours now. But I understand what you're asking for. You're asking us to make that speech of the urgency of now, to let Nigerian youths know that, look, if you do not stand up now, like the rest of your colleagues and friends, are doing all over Africa, in Kenya, in Togo, you are not going to have the country you want. You can wish all you want, but until you step up and fight power and you fight the system, you are not going to have a country of your dream. And you can travel to the farthest part of the world, east or west, there's not going to be a place that's going to be like home. And you better fight for your home, your country, your nation, and you better fight the fight that will give you liberation, dignity, and respect across the world. Create a place for your youth I mean, place a place for that's best when you are youth, so that you can have a place to be when you are old. That is nothing anybody needs to inspire or motivate or direct anybody about. It is the truth. And I would say that I'm happy about something. I don't know where it is coming. Maybe I'm just being unduly euphoric. The response that we are getting across the country in terms of younger people who are radicalizing and fighting power is unbelievable. Because I've engaged in a lot of struggles recently, as you can follow and see, and more people. There's nowhere we get to that are not saying, "Well, the time is now. We are with you." That may be something that you can't take to the bank, but the messaging is getting stronger and bigger and more powerful. And I think we just need to sustain it. I think it is finally reaching everybody that this is the truth, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how assailed it is. The truth will always be truth, and no matter how popular it is, whatever is false will continue to be false. So I didn't take up to 3 minutes, but I think we have an opportunity to do that as frequently as we meet together. Valerie, the Sowore coalition is going to work. Do you think we're doing enough? Valerie, I am not part of a coalition, and I do not believe in a coalition, and I've said it several times. I do not believe that we should replace the rotten eggs with another set of rotten eggs. And I know about the coalition. I know a lot of people are in the coalition. They are the people you and I swore some few months ago we would never allow them cross our path, like Sowore, Rufai, Malami, Mechi, David Mark, the rotten people who destroyed Nigeria through PDP and over time went to APC. They are the people in the coalition. I can't be caught dead in their midst or working with them or glorifying what they call a coalition. The coalition we need is the one we have here right now. Is a coalition of very brilliant, young, active, dynamic, and sound people across Nigeria. That's the coalition we need. We have them here. I have them right in front of me. And they are now at 8,701 persons. If we can keep moving at this rate, every coalition shall bow to us. And that's how I want to finally address that. Um, said Are we doing enough? Well, I would say we're not. We can't say we're doing enough until we get enough of what we want, and we don't have enough of freedom and liberty, of prosperity and social progress. And if we don't have that yet, that means we are not doing enough. I agree with you. What can we do as Nigerian youth? Do we wait till 2027? No, do not wait till 2027. I am not. I've never waited for any date. I fight every day as long as I'm alive. And those of you who want to wait till 2027, I don't know what you see in 2027, but I don't even know how many people will make it to 2027. The rate at which these people are hurting the Nigerian people. So no need to wait 2027. Any day that your liberation come, that's the day of transition to glory, but not to the other world. Nalo, you said wonderful things here, but you said, is there anybody out there that if what I'm planning doesn't work, I can support? I don't see yet. If I see it, probably will be you or as one of you. But amongst the old system guys, I don't see anybody that I can tell you I can support, and I won't even second guess that. I know them, and like that popular saying that's associated with me, that those who destroyed your past can't mend your future. It's impossible. Then the last question from Lagos says low cost affordable housing for Nigerians. Yes, all these things are possible, but we need to secure Nigeria first and put it in the right direction and put in the right gear. And low cost, affordable housing, affordable education, affordable healthcare, safe, drinking water, infrastructural development, food security, energy security, healthcare. All of these things are possible uh, after we have done what we promised to do, which is bring about a revolution in our lifetime. Thank you very much for the questions. I got about 28 of them. And I want to once again appreciate you, Chichi, Civic Space, Chimeze, and every other person who's been here with us, including the very important group of persons on the live stream here, connecting to over 8,711 persons. It has been a while since we had this many people hanging around for over 2 hours 50 minutes. We started this 2 hours 50 minutes ago. That's amazing. So thank you so much, guys. I know that so many people have other things to do, but you chose to be with me today, spend your Saturday evening with me. I really, really appreciate it. It's 9:59 p.m. here in Nigeria, Abuja, where I'm located, and I'm sure you guys come from different parts of the world with different time zones. So I wish you the best and the best of your day. If your day is still young, I wish you the best. If it's late night, I wish you the best. Whether you're in China, in the USA, or South Africa, or you're in Brazil, anywhere in the world, including St. Lucia, where I heard the president Nigeria has gone to spend his junket vacation again. Thank you. Somebody said I should call his name Igwe Knowledge. Yes, I've called your name. Thank you so much. Next time when we do this, I think we should plan better. Tech people, please, let's work together. AI people, let's work together. We need more people on these platforms, and a lot of platforms are out there popping out. And if you're on Facebook, please join them. If you are on, I think we also should have a Telegram group, but that has to be well monitored. So that's where we are. I am at 8,918 people watching. The number kept growing. I don't know why, but it's amazing. I think this is getting to the grassroots. Um, Chichi, you can take it away, or see whomever is the next host or MC.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. But with your permission,
Yes.
like you, we're hoping to continue this space at least every month. Same time, even if it's just 2 hours, just to speak to everyone, and with your permission, hoping that this is okay. And I can definitely organize it with my other comrades, and yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's not.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Civic, do you have something to say?
Thank you. We thank our guest, Sowore, for honoring our invitation. We are so humbled that he's able to, despite his very tight schedule. And we look forward to seeing you sometime very soon to engage with Nigerians, to have an interface with your people. And I believe our people would be more than willing to come en masse, even more than this. Today we are doing over 9,000. I believe by the time we host the next one, we'll be up to 20,000. And I believe the Nigerian people will not disappoint us in this regard. Thank you so much. Dear Nigerians, here you have it. Omoyele Sowore, human rights activist, former presidential candidate of African Action Congress. And he has shown beyond every reasonable doubt that he actually is the man of the people, beyond every reasonable doubt. And this is an opportunity for us to actually let Nigerian people know that civic space is interested in interacting with Nigerians, in involving ourselves with educational efforts to get Nigerians to that state of consciousness and the right ideological frame of mind for us to take back our country. Because first is knowledge before action.
Guys, that's been my outing together on Twitter Space. I just left Twitter Space, but I know a lot of you are watching us from across different platforms on Twitter, LinkedIn, on Facebook. I think I'm also linked on Instagram, both on my private platforms and also Sahara Reporters. I want to thank you so much for coming to this broadcast across party lines, and we've answered a lot of questions tonight, taken a lot of comments, and I've gotten a lot of advice from several people on how we push forward regarding our revolutionary desire to liberate our country, take our country, Nigeria, back. I really, really appreciate all of your presence here tonight, and I continue to impress it upon you that we can do this. We can make our country a better country. We can push our country in the right direction, and we don't have to wait for those who are holding us to ransom to dictate to us when we free ourselves from this bondage. And that the so-called political experience, political thieves in this country has put us. So I'll be a regular face here. I'll be happy to interact with you online and offline. And I want to thank those of you who frequently meet with us and engage in all kinds of activities. Either we are bailing somebody out of a police station, or we are helping policemen to advertise the struggle for their own well-being. We are currently fighting to ensure that policemen across Nigeria who are in service, over 350 of them, have better condition of service, a pension that is not enslavement after they serve for 35 years. And July 21st, if nothing is done to resolve their pension issue, there will be a showdown between Nigerian police and the Tinubu government. I'm ready and willing to lead. I've said it. If you're a policeman, whether you're retired or you're active, regardless of our adversarial relationship, which is not the greatest, I will fight for you. And every other security agency in the country that is in need of this struggle, we want to do it once and for all so that you don't risk your life for the country without the country giving you at least something back when you are tired and vulnerable. So that's our position. We do the same for students across the country. We believe that you deserve free education, you deserve even study support from the government. We can't continue to fund the greedy and leave the vulnerable unattended to in our country. My name again is Omoyele Sowore. I will be around. I'll be willing to talk to any one of you. I have several channels and multiple spaces where we can all reach each other. I just want to remind you again that the time for the revolution is now. Revolution now. Have a good night.